and 20, since we're going to explain it.
Thank you.
Mr. Handa?
Again, for the record, Sanjiv Handa, Eastern News Service. I'm presuming, of course, since you're only giving me 1 minute per item, that will also be the time given to all other speakers, all items the rest of the evening. If not, you're violating the equal access provisions of Proposition 59, the Ralph M. Brown Act, the City of Oakland Sunshine Ordinance, and the U.S. Constitution. So let me just state that up front. Since you as a council and you as a president are not interested in complying with the law, let that be a part of the complaint. On the Business Tax Board of Review, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's only 4.
We're waiting breathlessly.
There's not a quorum present. You
I
can't.
understand.
Well, then I'll just stand here till we get one, just so the viewing public knows. I'm happy to stand for 7 minutes. It's no big deal. I just want to remind you, your rules of procedure state the person must be seated in their seat or standing in the immediate vicinity if they cannot be seen by their chair. 1, 2, 3,
That's only
4,
for the vote.
5.
That's for the vote. Not
No,
for the...
that's for a quorum.
We're going to look it up while you do that.
Okay, go right ahead. Okay, so to continue, now we actually got 6. How about that? 3/4 of the way to having a full council in one room at one time. I think we've actually probably had 2 meetings where we've actually had the entire council present this year. All right, so starting with the Business Tax Board Review, after about 10 years of the city denying that it had obligations to actually post the notices, they admitted that they were wrong, started sending out notices, and now I'm supposed to be getting them electronically. But now I note that 4 new members are being appointed. This is a 5-member board. And that leads to my first point, Ms. Bruner, since you and the council cut the city clerk's budget and they lost their boards and commissions person. In case you're not aware, this city did not publish and post as required by Government Code Section 54972, the MADDY Act, M-A-D-D-Y, a directory listing all the appointments on all boards, commissions, committees, task forces, and others that are made either by the mayor or by the city council of the city of Oakland, and that applies to every city and county in California, by the way. So the MADDY directory did not get published. So that means unless the appointments that are on tonight's agenda were published in the 2009 edition of the MADDY directory, which was published December 30th of 2008 by Ms. LaTonda Simmons, then you cannot make these appointments. I did not see today when I looked any kind of a special 10-day notice for these appointments that are being made. And since some of these are new boards, particularly when you go to the end of the agenda to items 19 and 20, we are creating the Oakland Taxation Assessment Board and the Parking Tax Board of Review. The public has no knowledge that these boards exist. This is the first time they're being aired. And as a result, since you just created them a few weeks ago, we know there's no MADDY posting because they didn't exist in 2009. Therefore, these appointments are basically illegal. And I remind you that for many years, the city did not publish its directory under the MADDY Act because Ms. Parker erroneously opined that the mayor is not a legislative body, so there was no requirement. And it wasn't until Mr. Russo read the MADDY Act himself and discovered that it's not mayor and city council, but it's a disjoiner, mayor or city council. And then about 3 years ago, you started getting the updated directories back again. You'll recall Mark McClure's nomination to the Port Commission got held up. Several other critical nominations got held up because this city had not complied with the law. And it's unfortunate that when you're talking about laying off all sorts of city staff, if you could do everything right the first time, you could get rid of 500 positions in the city, and you wouldn't have a budget shortfall. If you could actually figure out a system of constituent service delivery, you would actually be able to cut another couple hundred positions. But what you're doing is you're duplicating constituent relations in the mayor's office, the city council office, the Oakland Citizen Center, the city administrator's office, and the various departments. And what it also does is create a situation where you're not really understanding some of the ramifications of the actions you're taking. And I will just point to you the case in Los Angeles a few years ago where there was an application on appeal before their city council. Their attorney came in and photographed the council members, as several of you are doing now, talking to each other, talking on their cell phones, being out of their seats, acting disinterested. And guess what? In court, the revocation of that license got thrown out because the judge said there had not been due process. I know due process is not something you care for very much. The Oakland City Council is more interested in collecting your paychecks on time, vesting in your pensions, and making sure that your friends and donors get the contracts so they can hire your spouses and significant others. I will also point out that several of you do not comply with the requirements in the Fair Political Practices Act as they relate to disclosure of spousal income or other income. And for those of you who serve on ABAG, MTC, or other regional agencies where the territory is a full 9 counties, you need to disclose your holdings all throughout those 9 counties and your income, not just the city of Oakland. Then we've got here exempting certain positions, hiring freeze, the ultimate in micromanagement. You know, this council has not got a very good track record of making decisions that have stood up, either to financial scrutiny or legal scrutiny. You've lost a number of major cases. You've had not only appellate courts, but the state Supreme Court tell you that you are fools. They've not used that term, but that's what, when you read it, that's what it comes down to. And in law, you can hide behind 100 pages of conclusion, but it comes back to the same thing. 100 pages of words say one thing. You were wrong. That's all you need to know. And it's only taxpayer money that's paying for it, so you don't have to worry about it. $150,000 of taxpayer money that you're frittered away, despite the advice of your city attorney to the contrary, on kissing up to the unions to withhold the disclosure of employee salaries. It was that disclosure that found that Robert Bob had paid many managers in excess of what was authorized by the city council. But hey, you got your paychecks on time, you invested in your pension, you got reelected, you didn't care. On the Library Advisory Commission, let me just point out, as the city auditor noted in her report, you went several years. This is your Library Advisory Commission that is also the Measure Q Oversight Committee. How can you have oversight when you don't have a quorum? Interesting question, huh? Where is the oversight? When the Measure Y Oversight Committee started making noises and exercising their rights, you just had to dump someone from the committee. When the Enhanced Enterprise Policy Board raised issues about the kinds of things that were going on, you dissolved that board. And the way they found out was they got to a meeting and found out there was no staff support and no dinner had been ordered. And the list goes on and on and on. So let me just close by saying, since I'm running out of time and I got cheated out of 8 minutes by virtue of Ms. Bruner's rulings today, that there will be another forum to discuss this. And when we get the correct and cure, you're going to owe me about 308 minutes, and none of you will be able to leave your seats, even if you have to go to the bathroom.
I don't think you want that. Okay.
And so we return to item 15.
Item 15, Ms. Brooks, did you have a question? Where's Ms. Brooks? Did someone have a question about item 15? Okay, I need a motion.
15, the appointments, Madam Chair?
Just the appointments to the Business Tax Board of Review.
The question was about the relationship of item 15